All right, good early Saturday morning to everyone. It's really not a good morning, though. Unfortunately, the developments that we were all fearing have taken place. President Donald Trump has taken to the stage to announce that we are striking Iran and have already done so. I'm here to just give all of the latest updates on the conflict that's now happening in the Middle East, covering everything from the fact that Trump announced these strikes would take place to the fact that Israel or Iran rather has struck back very quickly, already launching missiles at Israel as well as at our U.S. Navy, which pretty much, in my opinion, is going to seal the deal and ensure the prospect now that the United States does actually enter into a new Middle East war. Because Iran, unlike last time, where they called and gave us a heads up and advance notice that they would be launching some sort of missiles in a performative fashion just so that they didn't seem weak on the global stage, this time around has given us no such courtesy. They immediately dove into responding with missile strikes and have already struck Israel, like I said, with some successful missiles landing in Israel and striking Israel, as well as striking our U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. And those missile strikes were also successful in striking our base there. So President Donald Trump addressing the nation basically at around 2:30 a.m. this morning Eastern Standard Time, saying a short time ago the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people, he says, by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 404 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were absolutely involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died, Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members. In Iraq, the regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. It was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's number one state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens in the street. As they protested, it has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them to never resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it again. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades. And decades they rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe. Our troops stationed overseas and could our troops are stationed overseas and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally again obliterated. We are going to annihilate their navy. We are going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IED or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. We will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. The regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill the lives of courageous American heroes, may be lost, and we may have casualties that often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now, we're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail to the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police. I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So lay down your arms, you will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered, don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere when we are finished. Take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked America's help, but you have asked for America's help, but you have never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you. Honestly, absurd. I am sick and tired of all of this. And I think at this point it should be very clear that this Trump administration has failed. His campaign promise of no new wars officially ended tonight, in my opinion. And the fact of the matter is, now that our U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, has been struck by Iran, there is no turning back now. This will not be like the first strike last year, where everyone was saying, calm down, don't be a panikin. This Trump knows what he's doing. He's striking their nuclear facilities to take out their centrifuges, and beyond that, everything will be fine. This will not be a war. Boots will not be deployed on the ground. And it turned out that they were halfway correct back then, while others were predicting back then even that this was happening right now would occur. And the difference back then was when Iran went to counterstrike, they were eager to not start a war as well, it seemed. They reached out to us, in fact, basically, and gave us advance notice of their missile strikes. Not so the case tonight. They immediately launched back in retaliation to Operation Epic Fury. They launched their missiles back straight to Israel, landing a few of them successfully and causing some mayhem and devastation and destruction, as well as launching missiles at our U.S. Navy. And if you know how America operates, if our U.S. forces are attacked, even once, even a little bit, even if there's no casualties up front, we will fight them and we will kill them. And there's just no alternative at this point. It's honestly sickening. It's honestly depressing. And I'm sure most of you who are watching this now or later weren't tuning into my live stream where I was kind of ranting about AIPAC. But one of the things I was going to mention in that live stream was the fact that there was a chance this was going to happen. I have some pretty crazy sources that I follow on my social media, so I'm not going to pretend like I had advance notice of this, but there was speculation, looming overhead on the fact that this was going to happen possibly this weekend. And it's a pattern with President Donald Trump, honestly, when it comes to foreign affairs like this. He does deliberately wait until the weekend typically so that the stock market can't immediately be affected by it, since Trump tends to worship the stock market, of course, and treats it as our economy. He doesn't like when it dips during his administration, and so he does wait till the weekend typically for moves against Iran or Middle East affairs or unpopular foreign affair policies being implemented. So it's not really shocking that he's doing it on a Saturday morning, unfortunately. But yeah, my whole thing on this is it's against the campaign promise of no new wars, and it is depressing. And for me, it's kind of the final straw as a conservative myself, as a young conservative American. This is the final straw for me. No longer will I vote Republican. I am actually done with that. Going forward, I will only be voting for Republican candidates who put America first and pledge to do so. Christ is Lord, America must come first, and there must be an age limit on these politicians as well. I'm sick of these boomers with their neoconservatism, and I'm sick of them running for stuff and promising all of this stuff that they're just not going to deliver on. What this really is very likely an illegal regime change, and Trump won't face any consequences. The international courts never are capable of actually doing anything. They kind of just exist as sort of this facade to maintain some sort of global order, but we all know it's fake. And so the bottom line is Trump could be impeached for this later on down the line, I think, by Democrats. And I am at a point now as a conservative where I'm just content to allow that. I will not be voting Republican in the midterms anymore. I am done voting Republican, like I said. I am content to watch the Republican Party be devoured. I want them to fail now. I want them to be annihilated, and I want everybody in this administration to suffer and to be prosecuted for this. Because at the end of the day, no war is prosperous. And everything about his speech was addressing Iran citizens in typical neoconservative fashion. It's all about what America can do for everybody else in this fucking world, and I'm sick and tired of being a young male American in this country who's not prioritized by my world leaders, who I elect into office, at least do my part to do so, and then they just ignore me. They ignore me on the campaign trails. They treat me like shit on their campaign trails. They don't even acknowledge me. This is the reality of being a white, younger American man, right? I am in my very early 30s. I'm on the youngest end of the millennial spectrum. When do you ever hear conservatives or any politicians, really, for that matter, talking about my demographic? You never hear it. They're always worried about appeasing minority status people. They're always worried about appeasing the independents, the moderates, even some of the Democrats for some reason. These fucking conservatives nowadays are obsessed with winning over Democrats and moderates. They never are concerned with their voter base, me. They're never concerned with making my quality of life better. His speech tonight is about what he can do for Iran and Israel, not for me as an American. And so to Trump, I say, fuck you. I'm done with you now. It's over. MAGA's dead, and I can't wait to see it go. America First must rise up in its place. It's time for an actual real movement to take over in this country that actually is socially and fiscally conservative. Because I'll tell you this, nowhere ever will you see somebody celebrating a war that's in my position as an American and saying, yes, another war in the Middle East. Exactly what I voted for. This is going to make Americans prosper. Because we all know at the end of the day what this means. This is another senseless and fruitless Middle East war with a regime change that we're trying to execute now that we all know is going to fail. The Iranian people, they may rise up again temporarily, but we never see this work throughout historical patterns. The historical pattern of regime change is one of abysmal failure, a waste of our money, a waste of our time, and blood, most importantly. And Trump doesn't even try to deny it. Where did he say that again? I have his whole speech typed out here. Let me swig some water. Welcome, everyone. By the way, I see some views are starting to come in. Please like the stream if you haven't already. It helps the stream perform well in the algorithm. I didn't plan on going live at this hour, honestly. I'm usually getting ready for bed, usually looking at the clock thinking I'm up way too late as it is. But when I saw this news, you know, I can't not. I got to at least vent about it. I got to at least talk about it because this is just devastating as an American at this point. South I-7 says hi. Hey, how are you, man? So Trump doesn't even shy away from this, though. Where did he even say that? I'm trying to find it again. The speech is so long. But he even says it. He even acknowledges the fact that it could cost American heroes their lives. It's like, this is just, like, this is one of the things that I voted for Trump to not do. Like, this is one of the things, right? Like, there's a few things I voted for Trump based off of what I knew he would do. Mass deportations and tariffs, basically, right? And a better economy. And guess what? We're not getting any of those anymore, right? He's retreating from Minnesota, capitulating to Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey, pulling out all of ICE, ending mass deportations. Now it's only violent, illegal alien criminals being deported because the midterms are upon us. And here's the other thing, right? You could justify him doing that from a stupid standpoint of him foolishly thinking it'll help Republicans in the midterms. Oh, he's got to stop mass deportations. It's getting too intense. It's not as popular anymore as it was when he first took office. They want to win midterms, right? You could justify that, and I would say you're an idiot for buying into that. Trump's an idiot for believing that would work. But it makes some sort of political sense. But a war in Iran now, how's that going to help Republicans win midterms? Like, he just sunk the Republican Party, in all honesty. I'm not voting Republican now. I won't vote in 2028 anymore either. Because if it's going to be J.D. Vance, he's going to do the same shit, so fuck him. Marco Rubio, he's going to do the same shit, so fuck him. I'm done. I'll let this country delve into the hands of liberals and be destroyed. Because at least from the ashes of the system being burnt down, we can try to rebuild something. But that's really, I'm just, at this point, I'm almost an accelerationist. I'm not voting for neoconservatives anymore. I'm not voting for these kind of conservatives that don't give a shit about me. I'm not voting for wars anymore. I'm not voting for the lesser of two evils, because this is what the lesser of two evils gets us. And now this is going to be another expensive war, very likely. I'm not saying for sure it's going to be a war. I don't view Iran as the ultimate threat. But I also, there's no going back. Like I just reported on, they struck one of our U.S. bases in Bahrain, our 5th Navy headquarters in Bahrain. Once they strike us, that's it. We're going hard. And we weren't even striking their nuclear facilities this morning. We were also striking Tehran because we're trying to weaken their regime for regime change. And we, by the way, we first too. So there's the other one. Apparently the talks concluded late last night and were considered unsuccessful. So Trump just decided that's it. It's time to strike. And he did warn them. He did give them the 10 to 15 days notice. But this is just disappointing. Of Generation X serves how much of Generation X, Skirato? States Army from 88 to 96. And I agree with you 100%. He has done us wrong. No more wars. And now here we are. Yeah. Well, he campaigned on this. He campaigned on no new wars. That was an actual... People say all the time he campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. The answer to that one, for instance, is no, he didn't. He was asked about it during his campaign trail, and he said he likely would release them, right? I don't consider that a campaign promise, though I still think he botched the handling of those files entirely. But he actually literally campaigned on no new wars, and he's been bragging about ending them. And, now you can kind of see why that narrative has been crafted and held onto by him, can't you? He ended 8 wars. That helps justify why he's starting a new one, it seems. And I'm going to remind everybody of something. We went to Iraq on faulty Israeli intelligence. And Israel's been claiming now that Iran has been making nuclear, or attempting to make nuclear warheads. They've been claiming this off and on for the last 30 years. This is nothing new. This is, and listen, I don't know if everybody else in the chat's like me, but like I grew up playing Risk, Global Domination. I grew up playing Age of Empires. I grew up playing chess. I taught myself how to play chess. I didn't start at a young enough age, but I have a respectable 1600 to 1800 ELO score, depending on how much sleep I've gotten, etc., how well rested my mind is. I've played Civilization 4 on my computer. I think I know a little bit about strategy. I'm not claiming to be a Department of War worker over here. I'm not a brilliant general or captain, planning out this stuff. I won't go that far, but I think I understand strategy to some point, right? Not to use video games as the most credible source or even chess, but I think I get an idea of what's happening geostrategically, right? And Israel continually making these allegations of Iran developing nuclear warheads over the last 30 years should tell you something. And what it really tells you is Israel has wanted us to strike Iran now forever. Iran is Israel's enemy and Israel's biggest problem. It shouldn't be ours. It just shouldn't. They're so far away from us. Their ballistic missiles can't even reach us currently. And I just said this on my stream a couple of hours ago last night, later in the night. By the way, be sure to like the stream if you haven't already. It helps the stream perform well in the algorithm. If you're watching on your phone, just double tap your screen. It sends a like automatically. And subscribe to American Advocates if you haven't already so you don't miss all of my other streams, like the one I did last night where I said this. what really should be happening right now in regards to Iran? If Israel wants this so bad, and if Iran has ballistic missiles that can reach Europe now, like Trump just said in his speech 2 hours ago, why isn't NATO dealing with this problem? Why is it that Europe's at risk now because of Iran, and that means we have to send our soldiers over there to fight Iran? Why is it always American blood that has to be spilled? We've done enough over there. And I'm on the youngest end of the millennial spectrum. All I've really ever known for my entire life is Middle East war. Senseless, fruitless Middle East war that never ends well. Think about what we accomplished in the Middle East during the 2000s. What did we accomplish? Look at any Middle Eastern country over there and understand who they're being ruled by still to this day. We accomplished nothing over there. The only thing that was justifiable was the retaliation after 9/11, and that's that's a save from the conspiracy theories of 9/11, which I'm not going to get into tonight. It's exhausting. But sure, let's just take it at face value, right? 9/11, we retaliate against Afghanistan. Fair play. Then we get suckered into Iraq, a senseless, meaningless war based off of faulty Mossad intelligence, I believe it was, IDF intelligence, CIA intelligence, was it rather? MI6 played a hand too, maybe? I don't remember the full story. I just know the intelligence was bad. Out we went to Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. We got to stop it. And $6 trillion later, $2 trillion up front, and then we took out a loan for $6. We're still paying that loan back, by the way, for Iraq. And I'm seeing the same shades of that happening once again. 2004 Iraq, fast forward 22 years later, and now it's 2026 Iran. They're developing nuclear weapons, so they say, even though we were told just last year that their nuclear facilities were annihilated and that they weren't capable of enriching uranium or developing nuclear warheads for another 2, 3, or 4 or 5 years. We supposedly knocked out their centrifuges. What a lie that turned out to be, despite the fact that tonight, or just 2 hours ago this morning, early this morning, Trump said it. Trump openly says it. Well, we annihilated Fordo and Isfahan, or whatever it's called, Natanz. It's such a mess. And X is blowing up right now. You know, Benjamin Netanyahu gave this speech right here. He posted this on his X. He says, "My brothers and sisters, citizens of Israel, just an hour ago, Israel and the United States embarked on an operation to remove the existential threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran." Pause right there, too, because I want to ask this question as well. At the very least, we're doing this now alongside Israel, is what Netanyahu's going to frame it as. But when you look at the Iraq war, for instance, that I'm citing, based off of all that faulty intelligence that cost us $6 trillion, and I believe something to the effect of 4,000 U.S. soldier lives, 4,000. Guess how many Israeli soldiers died in that Iraq war? 0. So what's going to happen this time? Is Israel going to fight alongside us on this one? Because listen to how he frames it. Israel and the United States embarked on an operation to remove the existential threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran. We'll see about that. We'll see if Israel actually goes in. He goes on to say, "I thank our great friend, President Donald Trump, for his historic leadership. For 47 years, the Ayatollah's regime has chanted death to Israel, death to America. It has spilled our blood, murdered many Americans, and massacred its own people. This murderous terrorist regime must not be allowed to arm itself with nuclear weapons that would enable it to threaten all of humanity. Our joint operation will create the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their fate into their own hands. The time has come for all parts of the Iranian people, the Persians, Kurds, Azeris, to cast off the yoke of tyranny and bring freedom and peace, loving values to Iran. I call on you, citizens of Israel, to heed the instructions of the Home Front Command. In the coming days, during Operation Lion's Roar, that's their equivalent. Our operation's being called Epic Fury, and the Department of War tweeted that out this morning at 3:27 a.m. Operation Epic Fury with an American flag emoji. I want to know who's naming these operations in our department, by the way. Theirs is called Lion's Roar. It's their equivalent. We will all be called upon to show patience and strength of spirit. Together we will stand, together we will fight, and together we will ensure the eternity of Israel. So that's Netanyahu's speech. The military wants to fight for something, not nothing, says Jesse Agosto. Crawlspace 213 says, "I remember when they took our embassy when I was a kid, and I've always knew this day was coming." And here it is. It's all about wealth, says Crawlspace 213. Yeah. That's a part of it. Honestly, at this point, the real main component of this, when it comes to the American perspective, is what I was covering last night, and it comes down to the influence of Israel and their money that they throw at our politicians to influence these choices. Obviously, Trump doesn't receive APAC funding because APAC is limited pretty much to congressmen and women. But Trump's donations from people like Miriam Adelson this term, compared to his last campaign, 2015, where he received, I think, roughly only $20 million from Miriam Adelson. He's received like something like $336 million this term around, his second term. It's an astronomical difference, and it really does make a lot of sense this time around when you look at just exactly how quickly, by the way, because only 4 or 5 months in, Trump was on a roll his first 2 months last year. I created this channel March of last year because I was actually genuinely excited about what I saw Trump doing, right? And I was like, man, this is awesome. Finally, a president fulfilling the promises and getting shit done. And I was noticing stuff like Congress being lazy and not codifying his executive orders into law. So I was mad about that. I was like, I'm going to start a channel and talk about this stuff. Man, how quickly did that change? Because right around May, it seemed like everything started falling apart. In that cabinet meeting, he talked about Epstein files being a hoax. And then within 2 months after that, it was Operation Midnight Hammer, and we bombed Iran and struck Iran. And he's just been distracted with foreign policy, it seems, ever since. He hasn't been able to end the Russia-Ukraine war. And now we're striking Iran, and pretty much, in my opinion, can't say this for sure yet, but based off of Iran's quick responses, it seems like he's starting a new Middle East war is really what happened tonight. Against campaign promises, and just utterly distracted now by foreign policy at our expense. And yeah, the economy's good if you're a boomer, but if you're a millennial, if you're a Gen Zer, the economy sucks. And so I'm sitting here right now waiting for the golden age that the boomers claim we're in and that Trump says we're in, because it is a golden age for them. And I'm watching this now, and I'm doing the math, and I'm instantly thinking about the math behind the Iraq war, the useless Iraq war that put us $6 trillion in debt. I just want everybody to understand something. Our economy can't handle that anymore. You know, it could barely handle it 22 years ago. We're at a point now where $6 trillion more in debt. I mean, you think the cost of living's bad now if you're a young person? Wait till you see after this Middle East war how bad it gets. Wait till you see, Pam Bondi wants to talk about the Dow Jones being at 50,000. Let's see what that comes in at on Monday, now that this is taking place over the weekend. Hey, Miha Nui, I do read the comments, I do. So it can be a conversation potentially. It's more like a monologue. It is more like I do tend to monologue. I'm very passionate about what I talk about. So I go off on long-winded monologues. But if you have something to say, by all means, man, I'll read your chat out. I'll read it out loud. Mark Rosin 7600 says, Izzy never sends their own. Yeah, exactly. Izzy never sends their own to anywhere but places they're robbing and colonizing. Well, whatever. I don't like using the word colonizing just because, obviously we did that here in the United States, and I'm kind of all for it. But I am not all for America having a hand in that region anymore. That's my stance on that. And it is true. The Iraq war points to that. The loss of life on the American side totaling 4,000 or more compared to the Israel side. Based off of Israeli intelligence, at least in part, we went to that war, by the way. At least somewhat. There was at least a little bit of Israeli intelligence that played its hand in us striking Iraq in 2004, as well as CIA, of course, and I believe MI6. So it was, once again, these damn three-letter intelligence communities that led us down that path. And what happens? Well, Israel they don't shed their blood. They don't shed their blood for their own agenda, it seems. And it's really getting annoying. And now we have young people that are going to be expected to fight in this shit. This is not a game, says Steve Williams. That's correct. It's not. Oh, you were saying that because of my reference of risk, but I'm just referencing that as far as I'm saying I can see the strategy behind this on Israel's part, right? Israel wants that region destabilized because Israel does have a plan for the Middle East. And their plan is to destabilize it so that they don't feel threatened. And then their plan eventually is to expand, like any country, by the way. Any potential superpower or superpower ultimately is always trying to expand. It's only ever America, by the way, that gets shunned for that. When we decide we need to buy Greenland, the rest of the world despises us and says we're the worst. Meanwhile, Russia's taking Ukraine, China wants Taiwan, Israel wants the greater Israel region. They want to create that. They want to destabilize the Middle East and control it. So everywhere else doesn't seem to have a problem expanding. But it's as soon as we decide, hey, for our national security, we're going to need to buy Greenland. Oh my God, America's evil, fascist scum, disgusting. I can't believe you'd even say that. I'm so over it. I'm so over geopolitics. I'm so over America being the doormat to the world while also defending the world and funding the world for that matter. And this is a warning. This is a warning. This will not fly when the young generations take power. And I think all these countries know that. I think NATO knows it. I think Israel knows it. I think Russia and China know it. There are savages coming up in my generation, and especially I love hyping up the Gen Z guys. I love Gen Z guys. I think they're amazing guys. I think they have good heads on their shoulder. They know exactly what they want. They know exactly what America should be, and they're not afraid to openly speak their mind. And when millennials are getting power, and especially when Gen Z is taking power, the world is going to take a much different turn. This is cucked boomer shit we're witnessing right now take place, and it is so beyond frustrating. Israel will be last, and you can already see it. Yeah. Iran is an occupied territory. Can you tell me why would Obama send pallets of cash to Iran? Because Obama was a scumbag. That's not it. Is well, what else can I do, Mahanui? Do you have any evidence? Evidence of what though? Are you talking about Iraq? Because the Iraq stuff I'm talking about is it's already evident. You can research the Iraq war. If you're talking about Iraq, I'm not speculating, obviously. But if you're talking about this new Middle Eastern affair that's breaking out right now, yes, I am speculating that it'll turn into a war. I am speculating, but I'm also speculating based off of history, right? So Israel did not lose a single life in the Iraq war. What makes you think it'll be any different this time around? Meanwhile, it's the American lives that are expected to be put up for loss. It's us who's expected to shed our blood for the agenda. UK and Japan are getting on board. Canada, France, and others aren't far behind. Yeah, great. Yeah, and you know why? Because Iran is technically an ally to China and Russia. And so now you're seeing World War III trending on X, and it's like, I don't think that's going to happen. But that's more speculation too, right, Mahanui? Because it could happen. It could be World War III now. So it's all speculation. I don't work for the government. I don't work for the Secretary of War here. I'm not in the Department of War, so I can't really tell you what's happening. I can only speculate, but I'm at least trying to use the historical past, and precedents that have already been set when it comes to this stuff to speculate. X is up in arms over this. Here's the timeline of events where this has occurred. Late February 27th, yesterday, U.S. and Israel finalized joint plans after failed talks with Iran. February 28th, 2026, at around 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Trump posts Truth Social video announcing major combat operations against Iran for regime change and nuclear elimination, which is why we saw multiple missile strikes from us, not just centered around their nuclear facilities this time, but in Tehran as well, because we are trying to destabilize their region to create regime change situation. And they're open about it now. They're just open about this. Early Saturday morning, about an hour later, 3:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. and Israel launched the first strikes, Operation Epic Fury, hitting the Iranian military sites, missiles, and areas near Tehran. Immediately after, explosions rock Tehran. Smoke rises over the presidential palace and Revolutionary Guards compounds. Shortly after the strikes, Israel declares a state of emergency, closes airspace, sirens blare nationwide. 30 minutes later, 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Iran fires retaliatory missiles and drones at Israel. Air defenses intercept most, the Iron Dome, and air defenses, of course. Booms are heard in Jerusalem. Minutes later, Iranian missiles target the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Explosion confirmed. Smoke over Jafar base. And so that's what I was saying early on when I went live here about 30 minutes ago. This is not like last summer. We were called panicans last summer when we were fear-mongering over a potential new Middle East war, right? And even I back then, I said on my X, it won't be a war. I knew it was going to be a strike, and the difference was evident last summer because the rumor at least was Iran even called us and gave us an advance notice that they were striking some sort of defunct base that we had there just to save face on the global stage and not appear weak. And so the place was vacant when they struck. Almost all of their missiles were shot down by the Iron Dome, and not much occurred. And after that, all is well. We took out their nuclear facilities and their centrifuges, according to Trump. No need for further strikes. Boots did not go on the ground. Soldiers were not deployed. Our U.S. Navy wasn't there at the capacity it is now, right? It's different this time. Iran's not playing around the same way. Iran is going to go out in a blaze of glory, basically. And the fact that they've already struck our U.S. Navy base there in Bahrain means this could be a war. And yes, for people like Mahanui, that is speculation. But that's why I'm speculating on that, because it's different. They've actually struck our base, and there haven't been any reported casualties yet. But Iran is responding much quicker this time, and there's no courtesy calls coming in to give us an advance warning. They're striking back because I think Ali Khamenei knows this is regime change, and so I think he figures, in all honesty, he may as well go down fighting. And so it is going to get messy. And Trump openly said that in his speech just early this morning. American heroes' lives could be lost. He's talking about our troops because they're going in, it seems. You understand Iran is an Islamic regime. The people there are Persians. I understand that, yes. I've seen the photos of what Iran looked like from in the, the 70s beforehand. So I understand that they're sort of being occupied, yes. They're not my problem. That's how I view it. And I don't care how callous that sounds anymore. It's not my problem. I'll tell you this. I don't lose sleep over the Persians in Iran. They're not my people. They're not my problem. My people are Americans. And I vote for my leaders to deal with our problems exclusively. And in the going forward, I'm not voting conservative unless I see a candidate that rises up and openly talks in the tone centered around the Middle East that I approve of. I won't vote for this lesser of two evils bullshit anymore. I won't vote for neoconservatives anymore, boomer conservatives. I'm done voting. I'll let Republicans fail. I'll let them fail knowing Democrats will persecute them, and I'll watch that with a smile because I'm so dissatisfied with the political system in this country at this point that I am done. I am done. As a young millennial, I am done until I see people rising up like James Fishback running for governor of Florida. I'm not voting for this shit anymore. So J.D. Vance, for instance, there's about a 90% chance at this point I'm not voting for that guy. Marco Rubio, same thing. I'll let him fail. I am just done. I'm just done with this. Zechariah Benjamin says, the Bible talks about the Prince of Persia in the end times. It's obvious they're setting up the former crown prince to take power soon. Generally, it would be called the king. Seems unlikely coincidence. Yeah, I have my own opinions on the end times and what the Bible discusses in Revelation. I don't think it's going to come from Iran, to be honest with you. Boomers are largely Democrats, says Mahanui. Yeah, they are. That's true. That's what makes them even worse. Okay, anyways, back on this timeline here. Minutes later, ongoing. 4:30 to 4:43 a.m. Last time I checked for, updates. Iran launched more waves towards Israel. Qatar is now intercepting missiles aimed at the U.S. base near Doha. So they're trying to strike more U.S. bases. Iran didn't even launch missiles at just one at our Navy 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. They're trying to strike our other base in Doha. So they're active. Iran is targeting us now, right? They're targeting more than one of our military bases. And just now, Israel started a second wave of strikes on western Iran, and the internet in Iran crashes to near zero. Trump is reporting it's massive and ongoing. No casualties reported as of yet, but escalation continues. X is going crazy right now. There's so many people, tweeting about this, talking about this. So many people putting their input in. I'm not seeing too many positive reviews on this one, to be honest with you. Iran is cooked. Yeah, they are cooked. Listen, I'm not saying they're not cooked, right? I'm not saying this is a mistake because our military won't go in and slaughter, all right? We certainly were great at destabilizing the Middle East and killing, okay? Like, it's not about that. I'm very proud of our U.S. military. I love our operation in Venezuela, for instance. That's an operation that makes more sense to me. That's our Western Hemisphere. That helped us rid Venezuela of Chinese influence. China's our enemy. So I'm okay with the military being used by any president for that matter if it's used intelligently. This is not our problem. Iran's not our problem. Yes, they're cooked, but the bottom line is, when has regime change worked? When has it ever worked? It doesn't work. Look at any country we were involved with in the 2000s in the Middle East and sent military, like our U.S. military to. Look at any of those countries. Are they shining democracies and shining beacons of freedom? No. The second we leave, the second we decide it's too expensive, we've done enough, it all gets toppled and undone. That region is hopeless. It's not worth our time. And our founding fathers knew this. James Monroe knew this. The Monroe Doctrine was written to address this. They openly said it was unwise for our American leaders and elected officials to focus on the old world, the Eastern Hemisphere. Even when it came to making alliances, they cautioned against that, all for a reason. We're separated by two oceans. We have our own Western Hemisphere to deal with. And if we want to focus on the old world, China is the problem. I'm just so sick of this. And nobody in my chat, by the way, nobody in my chat can argue against this. There is no beacon of success in the Middle East after 20 fucking years plus of us going to war in that region, spilling blood of thousands there, and spending trillions. There's no result. We have nothing to show for it. I'm seeing tweets pop up from actually Andrew Tate of all people. Every single president, no matter who you vote for, insists on going to war. The sad reality of being an American in the modern day. Because Trump ran on no new wars, a complete violation of his campaign promise. This will end MAGA. MAGA's done at this point. This will end pretty much Trump's legacy, in my opinion. I'm done with him now completely. I've sung his praises in the past when he's done good stuff on this channel. I started off this channel loving Trump. I became very critical of Trump in September. I paused my criticism of him in late December and January for Venezuela. I loved what he did there. I loved the tariffs up front at least. But I'm done with this administration. I'm done with these neoconservatives. I'm done with Republicans. I'm just done with them. Fuck them. Fuck them. Fuck this administration. Fuck the conservatives. May they lose the next two elections, and may this country fall to hellfire and brimstone under Democrat rule so that everyone can finally wake the fuck up and call for what really needs to happen in this country. And that is, of course, metaphorically, the system needs to be burnt down and rebuilt because it doesn't represent the people anymore. And all you have to do is look at social media to understand that. The narrative is everywhere right now. You don't see anybody save for the few MAGA cheerleader channels that are hoping to get invited to the White House press corps one day. You don't see anybody else discussing this in a positive light. In fact, even a few of the MAGA cheerleader channels that I keep tabs on are also not saying much, but not speaking too kindly about this either. Go figure, of course, these are younger people running these channels. Young people don't want this shit. This is boomer bullshit. This is boomer bullshit. It's warmongering, neoconservative boomer bullshit. I cannot wait till that boomer generation has hit the deceased line. I just can't wait. This world will be a much better place without that generation. Dino says, oh, but the orange moron will be different. Well, you're supposed to be different, that's for sure. And don't sit there and act like, oh, you fell for it. Oh, you're seeing what we've seen all along. You haven't seen any of this all along. Your side of the aisle, your ideology believes that it's healthy for an 18-year-old to question their sexuality and chop their cock off and pretend to be a woman. So honestly, go fuck yourself. Because at the end of the day, I'm not sitting here telling you I'm going to vote liberal ever. I'm a white American man. Voting liberal literally defies all of my best interests because that's the party that hates me even more. I'm just sick of the conservative party ignoring me because I am what makes up their voter demographic, their main demographic, and they ignore people like me. So don't confuse my rants here against this Trump administration, this Middle East war, and the current modern day GP party as someone who's switching sides of the aisle. Because I'm not a 67 IQ fucking retard that would ever vote liberal in favor of disgusting abortions and transgender ideology bullshit. Christine says, BS, get lost, trader. I'm out. Got no time for people like you. Right back at you. Okay, whatever. Fuck yourself. Go make a sandwich for your husband. Pussyfoot Production says, everything will be okay. I will protect you. Thank you. My opinion is it's been a long, long time coming for Iran, and as long as Russia stays out of it, it will be quick. We're counting on a lot, aren't we, Crawl Space? We're counting on China and Russia only sending the Pam Bondi strongly worded letter when it comes to this war, right? We're counting on that, for instance. We're counting on them staying out of it. We need them to stay out of it. This could become World War III if we're not careful, right? So, we sure are banking on a lot of that happening, aren't we? It's pretty dangerous. At least you have a coherent agreement, says Crawlspace. Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I can still rationalize through this and try and reason with what's happening, Crawlspace. Even if you and I aren't in full agreement here, the discourse, I'm open to the discourse of it so long as it's, somewhat logical. Like, listen, I'm not a fan of Iran, and I said this last night, right? I don't like the idea of Iran actually obtaining nuclear warheads. I just don't trust the intelligence that's telling us that that's what they're doing or that they're close to it. This is the kind of intelligence we've been receiving for 30 years. You think by now they would have achieved something. So that's suspicious to me. And then, like I stated last night on my stream about APAC, I briefly discussed this topic again. Where is NATO? Why is NATO and the UK and Israel not leading the charge on this? Why is it Trump who's making the first announcement? Why is it our country who's leading the charge with soldiers where our American lives will stand to be lost the most? I'm sick of this. Why can't we sit back on our fucking bum asses like NATO does and just maybe contribute a little bit of money here and there to medical aid for wounded Israeli soldiers, for wounded NATO military soldiers, for wounded UK soldiers? Why does America have to always be the one at the front lines, at the forefront, leading the charge, leading the way, making the first strike? I'm so sick of it. Russia is losing to Ukraine. Well, Russia is a paper tiger. Don't agree, but that's what America is all about, Crawl Space. I understand where you're coming from, and that's why I just said what I said. Hopefully you can at least understand where I'm coming from, Like, I've wanted to love Trump. I loved Trump the first 2 months of his presidency. He has some good ideas. He has great tactics, But where's it leading us at this point? I'm just so done with it. Hopefully you can at least understand where I'm coming from on that, I The peace president is at it again, says Moonrider. Yeah, no new wars. That was his campaign promise, right? No new wars. NATO fought both in Iraq and Afghanistan, but the USA is always the one starting. Yes. Well, I understand that. I understand that NATO did fight in Afghanistan on our behalf as well. But you know what NATO did in Afghanistan? They restricted where their soldiers could go to only the least hostile regions to minimize loss of life. And so, once again, just like everything else NATO does, it was more about grandstanding than anything else. NATO literally wouldn't let, like most European countries, wouldn't let their military soldiers fight alongside our U.S. troops in the most heated of regions. They placed active location restrictions on where soldiers could be deployed. And so, yes, they did do that. By the way, that's the least they could have done for us after 77 years of funding their defense and protecting them from Russia. And the least that they could do, they've still found a way to do less than that. This is an uninformed take. I have family in all of these regions. It's not an uninformed take. You can literally look this up. This was policy. It's all researchable. Just do some research. I don't care what family you have in those regions. Your family in those regions is very likely morons. They're literally fed anti-American propaganda on a daily basis. They live in a liberal socialist society. Those countries are being taken over by Muslims and immigrants and everyone else, and they all think it's perfectly okay, right? I don't care what your family has to say in those regions. I don't care what they have to say about America. They literally are brought up in an education system there that teaches them to hate us. So I don't give a shit, in all honesty. The USA never funded European defense. We always have funded European defense. It's literally what NATO was about. UNGOC. We were lazy and didn't do our part, but definitely funded our defense. No, you didn't. NATO was created after World War II to protect you from Russia using our U.S. military. There's a reason why collectively across the European front lines, we have 100 military bases there, U.S. military bases, with no less than 100,000 soldiers stationed there at any given time. We were literally, NATO was created to protect you out of our benevolency and generosity. And what NATO has done over the course of the last 77 years total, they've decided to skimp out on the NATO agreement to fund their own defense in favor of reallocating the funds towards their perfect socialist society with your free bullshit healthcare that you wouldn't have if it weren't for America, your lower cost prescription drugs that we subsidize for you to allow you to have, and all the while you guys tout and grandstand on the global stage about it against us. Meanwhile, we're the only reason Russia hasn't conquered you already. It's our soldiers that kept Russia at bay, and you perpetually, NATO allies perpetually skimped out on the agreement to fund the defense at the percentage rate of GDP they agreed to. This is a historic precedent that's been set by NATO. Yeah, you can't handle it, Mahanui. You don't have any arguments, by the way. You literally cannot argue against me on anything. Nothing. Just an ad hominem attack. A sure sign of a mongoloid idiot who has nothing intelligent to say. So fair fucking well. Be sure to dislike this stream, go dye your hair blue, cry in the shower about it, and never come back. No, the USA wasn't even going to join NATO unless Europe could prove to cooperate. And they didn't. And they haven't cooperated. And it's all out there. The information's all out there. The US wasn't even going to join NATO. We're the only reason NATO exists. General Eisenhower at the time of NATO's creation even stated himself that if NATO went on to exist for longer than 10 years, it should be written off as an abysmal failure. And it's been 77 years. The idea for NATO was supposed to be a 10-year, decade-long temporary setup to protect you guys, Europe, from Russia, from invading while your economy was toppled after the world wars. It was all just designed to give you guys a chance to rebuild. And you guys did rebuild, but you did so at our expense, and you took advantage of the deal time and time again. You guys have been perpetually checked on this, by the way, from some of our American elected leaders. And each time you're called out on it, there's always an agreement made by your world leaders. Okay, you're right. Yeah, we'll pick up the pace. We'll fund the defense at the agreed amount, the agreed percentage of GDP we promise. And then they never do. And now under Trump, they kind of were forced to a little bit. But even then, I don't trust them to sustain that. USA decided to join. It doesn't matter what you're telling me the history of the creation of NATO. The USA is the reason why Europe is currently in the position that it's in. They think they have all of this and that they've done all the work behind it. Our presence in NATO is the only reason you have that. NATO should be leading the charge. It's a collective group of dozens of countries. 27, 33, it's always changing. It's literally a shitload of countries. Collectively, that military should be able to stop any threat in the Middle East, which is basically Europe's backyard. It shouldn't be America leading the charge on this one. We should be taking a step back. We should not even have a military presence there. NATO's military at this point should be so powerful that they can handle Iran on their own, because that's the narrative you're hearing with this war. They have the missiles that can reach Europe now, Iran. This is dangerous to our precious NATO and European allies. Is it? Then where the fuck are they? How come I don't see them striking Iran first? How come it's not Europe itself striking Iran first with missiles and sending in soldiers? Why is it America doing everything first and leading the charge? Do you guys have balls over there? Do you guys know what it means to defend your home front anymore? If Iran's that big of a problem, how about they lead the fucking charge? I pulled up this other tweet I found intriguing as well. Once again, it's actually from Andrew Tate. I don't even follow him, but so much stuff is trending on here. And you got to hand it to Andrew. He does actually come out. He does say some pretty profound stuff, especially during times like this. War transfers wealth from the working class to the banking class. So does fraud and inflation. The working class man simply can't catch a break and is endlessly wrecked. This is the matrix, extraction from the populace to feed a machine-minded host. It's heartless. I agree. I agree. No one ever in the middle class or the low class of America celebrates war. That's for a reason. And that's why I view this so dishearteningly and so in such an unnecessary lens. Not just unnecessary, but once again a complete violation of the American people's trust who voted for Trump. This is a complete letdown, honestly, for MAGA. The Iran Military Daily page said, "Dear Americans, your president is Netanyahu and Trump is his puppet." And then America First Post, a page that I just started following, showed a video of an Iran missile landing in Israel, as well as there's a video here I can see of video footage of a missile strike on the U.S. naval base in Bahrain. You know, we have a bunch of stuff trending now. Operation Epic Fury trending. Impeach Trump is trending. Just a whole host of stuff breaking down now at this point on social media. It's very interesting. I'm looking at the responses perpetually here as they come in. And, yeah, it's not good. And people are not supporting this. And this is X, right? This is X. This is basically a conservative platform at this point, X. Rado says, UNGOC, are you reading everything off the internet? Try going to a library and actually looking up paper copies of history. Yeah, well, or just get better sources on the internet because, like, you can find all the reliable information out here online nowadays. But he's speaking from a very biased lens. He's speaking from a European perspective, which is not shocking. Lori Kitt says, because of your president, buddy. That username I can't even pronounce says, propagandists trying hard to defend the ugly, bloody game of warmongering. Yes, I know. There's very few of them, though, honestly. The general narrative I'm seeing on X so far is one of complete displeasure for this decision by Trump. President Trump has the American people's safety always, says Sharon L. Grady. Yeah, well, you know, the average everyday American is not going to suffer from a safety risk here in this war, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to go into a World War III scenario, but this is going to be, you know, at the very least, it's going to be a costly conflict, and I could see it breaking out into a full-blown Middle East war, because Iran's not playing this time, like I stated. They're striking our U.S. bases. They're at least trying to. Qatar has apparently shot down missiles that were being sent to our U.S. military base in Doha, and then they successfully did strike our Navy base in Bahrain. So, and once again, what does war do? Well, you know, which Americans are safe, Sharon? Which Americans are safe? We are here in our states. You know, Floridians and New Yorkers, on average, Californians, whatever. We're safe. Yes, the average everyday citizen is safe. But our soldiers are now going to very likely be putting their lives on the line for this, and there's going to be some death probably now. And it's depressing. I'll show that. Garen Talkoy TY. YouTube hid your chat, but I'm a free speech absolutist, so I'll show that. I'm pretty much echoing that right now. I voted for Trump, but yeah, I'd say that too. Fuck Donald Trump for this one. This is no good. This is very disappointing. I look at, to me, it's a betrayal. It's really a betrayal at this point. I'm trying to refresh and see if anything new is coming up. Bear with me here. Trump is Bush 2.0. Well, yeah, here's the thing too. Like, Trump is supposed to be the guy that's not a neoconservative. You know what I mean? Like, really what Trump is he's all the worst elements of Reagan and none of the good, it seems. He's all the worst elements of George Bush Jr. as well, you know. The rebel lady says, I'm scared. Don't be too scared. If you live in America, don't be too scared. But just be angry. You have a right to be angry at this. Yeah, wow, this missile strike on our U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, it's bad, actually. Major explosion. You can see rubble. It took out something in the footage I'm seeing here, posted by Nick Sortor. Owen Schroyer on X says, more Iran strikes than deep state arrests. More Iran strikes than Epstein arrests. More war spending than Doge cuts. Board of Peace launched a war. Ran against the unpopular Mideast foreign policy of Bush. Said we'd put America first. Foreign interest happier than Americans. Hodge Twin says Trump really listened to Lindsey Graham and Benjamin Netanyahu over the American people. Shaking my head. What the hell are we doing, man? Oh, and speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Here's Lindsey Graham on X. I am sure he has ejaculated in his pants 5 times already. The warmongering neoconservative Lindsey Graham says, God bless the POTUS, President of the United States, for planning and now executing Operation Epic Fury, making America safe and eventually more prosperous. I seek God's protection for all under President Trump's command, as well as our allies in Israel. My mind is racing with the thought that the murderous Ayatollah's regime in Iran will soon be no more. The biggest change in the Middle East in 1,000 years is upon us. The likelihood of normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel getting back on track is exceedingly high, a subject I brought up last week to the key players in the region who concurred if the Ayatollah goes down, historic peace advances. As to the men and women participating in this operation for our country and Israel, may God bless you and keep you safe. If you are injured or fall, they're just acknowledging it. Soldiers are going in, it seems. If you are injured or fall, I believe with all my heart that your sacrifice makes your country and the world a better and safer place. This moment is why you chose to serve. This it makes me sick to read. This moment is why you chose to serve. He's talking about it like this is like D-Day. Like this is liberating France and defending the world from tyranny. He talks about this like it's going to be a glorious World War II moment. It makes me fucking sick. And this is the Conservative Party. This operation has been well planned. It will, oh my God, it will be violent, extensive, and I believe at the end of the day, successful. Again, the demise of the Ayatollah's regime with American blood on its hands is necessary and more than justified. This fucking sicko represents North Carolina. He's the senator there. And he talks about Israel and Ukraine, and he lives out there more than he does in his own home state, and more he talks about Israel and Ukraine more than his own constituents and voters, more than he talks about the average North Carolinian. It's honestly disgusting. This is a state senator, and he's focused on Ukraine. He was focused on Ukraine all last year. Now he's focused on Israel. This guy's elected to deal with the problems of North Carolina. What the fuck does this have to do with any of the reasons he's elected for? And once again, it's like this is boomer politics. This is neoconservatism. And these days are coming to an end. And I can't wait to see what the younger generations do. The boomers are going through their last gasp right now. And it's happening under the Trump administration. And when this administration concludes, God help this country first and foremost. Because I don't want, make no mistake, though I said I won't vote conservative in the upcoming elections unless I see more James Fishback-like candidates rise up, because I believe Republicans deserve to lose, that doesn't by any means mean that I want liberals to run this country at all. So God help this country first and foremost. But hope is on the horizon with the young generations, because where I stand on this, for instance, this is inexcusable. And once people my age get power, and once Gen Z starts getting power, once we take our place in this world, the world should be put on notice. These days are numbered. This shit will come to an end, one way or another. I did not vote for this UNGOC. Trump campaigned on no new wars. Real Sasquatch Watch says leave for 3 years then. I voted for Trump. So, and I have a right to criticize him, believe it or not. I know that's a crazy thing for MAGA cheerleader cunts like you to process, but you can actually criticize the administration you vote for. You're actually well within your right to do that, bitch. So don't tell me to leave for 3 years. Fuck you. The rebel lady, I didn't vote for him. All our healthcare money. Yeah, well, I'm disabled and on a fixed income and barely make it and had to sell my car. It was junk, and I only eat 1 time a day. I don't know what else Trump wants me to give up. I can't keep moving like this. I guess I'll just go out early, says the rebel lady. Well, To you, I wish you the best of luck. Your problems are your own, and you gotta decide what's best for you. You need to. I don't know what you need to do. In all honesty, I'm not in your position. I can't really understand it. So, but you're a fellow American, so I would say obviously, though it seems a little melodramatic for you to type in a random chat like this about going out early. I mean, let's get serious here. Hopefully you can endure through this because this is going to suck for all of us, disabled or otherwise, on healthcare, welfare, whatever, or otherwise. So this is going to be hard. This will very likely, uh, well, it's going to tank our stock market on Monday. That'll be intriguing to see what the Dow Jones does. I'm sure Pam Bondi won't have anything to say about it. But the stock market's not our economy anyway. Our cost of living is not going to. It's not like it improves during war or during these skirmishes. These are costly. These are costly things that happen. This is going to be a costly strike on Iran at the very least, and it's going to be more than that this time around. I'm just telling you that right now. All right, take care of the rebel lady. God bless you. God bless you, and good luck. Okay, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. You know, get a good night's rest or have a good rest of your weekend. Try to enjoy your Saturday. Try to take a few deep breaths, rebel lady. Guy00898 says she needs the aid that Trump cut. Well, yeah, listen, I'm for welfare cuts, though, so there's a conflict of interest there. I don't know your name, but I think the most patriotic person is a person who dares to question the people ruling your country when they're doing wrong. Thank you, UNGLC. Listen, we're having some friction, you and I think, right? But I do appreciate that. And that is what I'm trying to do here. You know, I am not the kind of person that's going to toe the party line or pretend like because I voted for someone that I'm now on board with everything they do. I've been critical of Trump since September, right? And I was singing his praises from about January through March, maybe April of last year. Starting around August, September, I've been pretty critical. Put that on pause for Venezuela, right? I liked what he did with Venezuela. But then immediately after that, we got more Epstein botched bullshit release stuff, and now we're getting this. So it's like, I'm going to speak my mind. That's my right, and quite honestly, my duty. It's my duty as an American to do so. That's what our country's based off of that. It's based off of open discourse, the republic, constitutional republic, a culmination of people who vote for leaders and who have a right to speak their mind. Free speech, etc., exists for me to be able to do what I'm doing now. Trump is doing great, says Jennifer Shaw. Yeah, you must be like 67 years old at the very least to be saying that. Let's be real here. I have been hoping for the Iran strikes. Yeah, you're just so out of touch with what America needs right now. This is not what we need. Like this is one of the worst things that could have happened. It directly violates a campaign promise from Trump. And here's the worst part about this. Now they're going to pull like a Biden-inflation thing, right? And you're going to hear this as the main argument. Well, what's the definition of a war? Because this isn't really a war. Yeah, Trump did say no new wars, but this is a Middle East conflict, okay? It's a Middle East conflict, not a war. It's like, okay, all right, just change the definition then. Forever wars are bad, but quick justified operations are good. It depends. Do you really, I mean, honestly, what do you think? Do you think this is going to be a quick and justified operation? Iran is already aiming to strike 2 of our military bases. They've already successfully struck one of them. Our U.S. Navy headquarters in Bahrain. They tried to strike Doha, but Qatar shot down the missiles. And when they do that, by the way, when they strike, if we experience American soldier casualties, that prolongs the conflict because then we have to get revenge. Then we have to strike even more. They've been doing that for 50 years. Yeah, the proxy shit. But you know what? Our problem with the Middle East is that we're too engaged in it. It's time for us to divert back to the Monroe Doctrine like I've been preaching on this channel. The Western Hemisphere is ours, and we largely should be ignoring the Eastern Hemisphere, especially the Middle East. It's not our problem, okay? No wars, no lives lost. Maybe dream we need to stay out of there. We do need to stay out of there, Matthew Gwynn, yes. You know, the bottom line is, how do we not get struck by Middle Eastern terrorist hotheads who despise everybody that aren't their own people? We just don't deal with them. Let them sit in their fucking poverty lives, their fucking desert poverty shit. Let them just sit there and fester in their squalor, right? Like, we don't need to be engaged in that region at all. It doesn't have to be our concern. especially if our allies are actually our allies and are actually capable of handling shit. So once again, I rehash the same point I've been making all stream. Europe, Europe can handle this one. Israel can handle this one. The United Kingdom perhaps can join in. But America can be hands off and should be hands off on this. We don't need to take the lead on this shit. The Western Hemisphere is ours. The sheer entitlement of Americans. You mean the same kind of fucking entitlement that China has when it comes to Taiwan, that Russia has when it comes to Ukraine, that Israel has when it comes to the Middle East? It's called being a world superpower, buddy. I don't know what kind of shithole, hellhole country you're from. Probably Canada. But that's what it means to be a hyperpower. We do view it through that lens, yeah. The Western Hemisphere is ours. When you withdraw from the world, you lose your position. I'm not saying we withdraw from the world. I'm just saying we don't go to war on its behalf. I'm not. Listen, we keep our military bases across the world. That's how we maintain control in the way that we want to across the world. Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, for instance, I'm not saying shut down our 100 military bases in Europe, pull out 100,000 troops from the European regions. Well, we keep all that there. That's our flex. That's how we keep everybody in line. But when it comes to these wars, these conflicts, these confrontations with these countries, it doesn't have to be us. We can just sit back, and we should just sit back, and we should do nothing. What goes around comes around, says Andrew Bredding. Did they strike Iran, says Davin Hammond. Yes, both Israel and the U.S. has now struck Iran. I believe Iran. I believe we were the first to strike, according to Trump. We struck first. Israel struck second. Iran immediately struck Israel, struck our U.S. naval base in Bahrain, and tried to strike one of our U.S. bases in Doha, but failed because Qatar shot down the missiles for us. Lindsey Graham has posted something fresh as well. He says, as I watch and monitor this historic operation, I'm in awe of President Trump's determination to be a man of peace. But at the end of the day, evil's worst nightmare. Well done, Mr. President. That is just boomer slop. That's just boomer slop right there. I'm going to refresh this page, see what else is coming in on this. The Hodge twins just reposted a Charlie Kirk poll from June 12th of last year, 2025. Should the U.S. get involved in Israel's war against Iran? 89.7% said no, 10.3% said yes. Here we go. I'm loving this guy. This is an emerging candidate over in Britain who I talk about all the time. The kind of guy I want to see pop up in a candidate here in America as a future president. Rupert Lowe, running for Prime Minister of Britain under the new Restore Britain party. Super conservative guy. Love him. And I love what he says about Britain. I hope we get a candidate like that here for 2028 or 2032 at least. And he says, foreign regime change through military intervention is not a strategy that has served Britain at all. Many British men and women have needlessly died trying to achieve that. Restore Britain's position on foreign affairs is absolutely clear. We will act when and only when Britain's interests are being protected, and this can only be done after years of rebuilding and rearming. Our depleted armed forces are in no position to fight nor intervene. The capacity simply is not there. We don't have enough soldiers, bullets, tanks, jets, or missiles, not even a functioning economy. The Americans are in a very different position to us. They are operating on an entirely different level. This is true. But just because we have the military might doesn't justify it. Their decisions are their decisions. That's political speak on his behalf right there to basically not say he disagrees, but he's leaving it up to us, which he should do. We must accept the honest truth that our military has been brutally hollowed out. This is true. Our economy is failing and our country is crumbling away. That must come first every time. This also applies to Ukraine, Iran, or anywhere else. We should support where possible. See, I love this stance. This is my stance for America, being on the other side of the world. We should support where possible. Israel wants this war with Iran. Europe's in jeopardy of Iran having ballistic missiles that can reach European home front. That's their war then. We can support where possible. That's what Rupert Lowe says in regards to Britain. And apply pressure where effective, when that makes strategic sense for British interests. We are simply not in a position to act militarily. I wish we had a leader like that right now. We're not in a position to act militarily. The fact of the matter is, excuse me, when it comes to the U.S. military, of course we're in a position to act. So our question needs to be a little bit different than what Rupert Lowe is posing, because Rupert Lowe is correct when it comes to Britain. They have hollowed out their military, and they are pathetic nowadays. We don't have that problem, of course. We've been funding our military, especially under both Trump administrations. But our question needs to be slightly different. Why should we get our military involved? That's the question that I've been posing all night long on this stream so far. Why? Why does our military need to be the one leading the charge and getting involved? I see some more chats that come in. I don't mean to continually ignore you guys here. So this is mostly a monologue channel, but I'm very interested in what everyone has to say. Yeah, please, everyone come home. We're out of money and the game's over. This is what Putin wanted, says Debbie. I'm not so sure if it's what Putin wanted. I mean, this is kind of putting like the BRICS nations in jeopardy. Right, Iran has the oil. They need, we already harmed China by taking Venezuela and basically stopping Venezuela from sending their oil to China and the rest of the world that they were. So we've already harmed them in that way. If we do pull this off in Iran and target their oil, it's really going to harm BRICS and China even more. If Putin wanted it from the standpoint of selling Russian oil, of course, I guess that could make sense. But I'm just here in Sweden. Trying to work and survive. I don't want to be deployed in the Middle East. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't want you to be deployed in the Middle East either. I think it's fruitless. I think that region. I'm a Christian, so I believe in the Bible, and I believe that region is cursed. I don't believe there will be peace in that region until the end times. We can give the skids of our tax dollars like Obama did, says Deanne1711. That's the reality, by the way. We're going to be funding this. Hey, dude, just found your channel, says Lovely Lyrics 1687. Well, hey, welcome. Hopefully you're agreeing with what I'm saying, and if you are, please be sure to like the stream. If you're watching on your phone, double tap your screen. That's how you like it. If you're on the computer, you got to kind of like click the three dots or whatever it is. You got to search for the like button, unfortunately, on PC. But like the stream because it helps the stream perform well in the algorithm, and subscribe to American Advocates if you haven't already. Why did you laugh at Sweden? What have we done? I didn't laugh. No, I laughed at Sweden. I laughed at Sweden because Sweden is kind of like a nice, innocent country. So that's why. Like, nobody hates Sweden, basically. That's my thought process. So when you say Sweden, it's like, oh, you have a nice, comfortable life. At least from the geopolitical standpoint. There's no real major country out there that's like, you know what? Fuck Sweden. Those guys suck. It's not like you guys get the Iran treatment, or the Russia treatment, or the China treatment. Oh, gotcha. My bad. Yeah, no. I laughed in a good way. Because everybody kind of likes Sweden. Remember when the Iranian regime kidnapped and pushed Americans out of the plane during the Olympics? No. What am I missing there? What's this? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people putting up polls. The overwhelming votes on all of these polls about going to war in Iran is that no. It's like 85 to 95% are no's on all of these polls. People reposting Charlie Kirk. He posted this. Charlie Kirk posted this on June 17th, 2025. This is insane. He was obviously talking about Operation Midnight Hammer and what was happening last summer. This is insane. Regime change will result in a bloody civil war, killing hundreds of thousands and creating another massive Muslim refugee crisis. Yeah. So let's talk about that. If Iran is destabilized and people are displaced and they become refugees, where are they going? Have we thought that through yet? Where are these people going to go? That's an interesting question, isn't it? He says, toppling a leader is never as easy as you think. It almost always results in further involvement, a civil war, and chaos. Resist this. This was Charlie Kirk discussing Operation Midnight Hammer last summer, June 17th, 2025. He also later on went on to put up that poll where 89.7% voted no, they do not want a regime change or war in Iran. That's a prominent conservative speaker who's now deceased, the late Charlie Kirk. I really hey, same UNGOC. We had some friction there at the beginning. We had some disagreements, right? But no, same man. Honestly, we're all humanity at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So, I really like you. We might have disagreements, but you seem like a very knowledgeable and chill person. I respect that. I'm mostly chill. When I get really angry, I get worked up. I got kind of stirred up on my stream last night, but like for me, it's not actually personal. I don't take what anybody ever says personal, really. Like because at the end of the day, I don't know you, so I just don't put enough respect on anybody in the chat to where like anything anybody says that's offensive to me, it's just kind of water off my back. Like I don't know anybody personally in this chat. But it is cool. I invite the discourse at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's not personal, and people are free to disagree with me. Like that's kind of what it means to be an American. And I know you're not an American, but that is what it means to be an American. Open discourse, free thought, free speech, disagreements, hashing stuff out. And nobody hates people from Sweden. So like I can't hate you. You know what I mean? Sweden's just a cool place. Sweden, Switzerland, we love that region in general. It's just a cool place. You guys don't bother anybody. We should take the Sweden approach. That's my message. We should take the Sweden approach. America should just isolate from the world, not completely because we can't. We need to maintain trade, and we need other countries for other things, unfortunately. And our politicians in the 80s sent a lot of our manufacturing overseas. From the 80s and into the 90s, we sold out our country. So we can't isolate as much as I'd like us to be able to, but we should take the Sweden approach here in America. Like why do we have to be the ones striking these countries like this first and fighting everybody else's war for them? I'm so sick of it. Billy Bob Hobnob says we must keep Israel happy or God will frown. I know you're saying that satirically, and I appreciate it. I think Reza Pahlavi will make a difference in the country, and we have an opportunity to make friends with 80 million Iranian people rather than hate. I don't like it, but it's what I think, says Lovely Lyrics. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the historical precedent, like I've been saying all night long now, for regime change is not good. There's no good. There's no good buildup of a proven track record throughout history of regime change ever working, or of Middle East wars ever being prosperous for us. It only cost us money, and it only cost us American lives. Sweden has been at peace and taken a neutral stance for over 250 years. Joining NATO was controversial but understandable. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you guys are right there, so I understand. It's going to make a difference in the Middle East. Hopefully, it won't totally solve it, but it's a difference. That's what we've been sold, though. You're buying Lovely Lyrics. You're buying the lies that we were sold. And again, I was a little kid during these wars in the 2000s, right? I was literally a little kid. So I would turn on the news. I'd watch the news. I paid attention. Even when I was like 10 years old, I went through a phase of like I was playing with Army Men, I was playing chess, I was playing Age of Empires 2. War, when you're a boy, war fascinates you. So I paid attention to the Middle East war news, but I couldn't comprehend all of it at 10, and I couldn't comprehend why we were fighting all of it. And then you grow up, and then you realize the truth behind a lot of it. And the truth is, we were sent to a lot of these countries like Iraq on faulty intelligence. Where were the weapons of mass destruction? And we lost 4,000 soldiers' lives there. We went in $6 trillion of debt to do so, by the way. And it's not prosperous. We're still paying back that debt. And if we go to war with Iran now, that's going to be trillions of dollars of more debt. And it's going to ruin our economy even more. Don't worry about the run-on sentence, Lovely. It's all good. Luckily for you, I have great reading comprehension. So if you miss a period or a comma here, I'm not going to be a grammar Nazi about it because I think those kind of people are stupid. Reading comprehension is all that's needed when it comes to the internet. Roscoe Powa Bob Beba says, bless the USA and Israel. Iranians are a little problem now, huge problem later. Well, we're told that about them, and I'm not a Middle East specialist here. I'm not an expert on the Middle East. I don't know the extensive history of the region. I just know what's biblically promised to me as a Christian is that region will never have peace until the end times, until the world's getting ready to end. And so I view it as a useless and senseless kind of conflict to engage in. I think from my American perspective, I'm making a lot of sense when I say we don't need to be getting involved in this. Hi from Australia. Hello, Robin Brown. But it's a movement that President Trump is pushing. It's rough, but for the first time, we have a good chance to get some of them cooperating. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Lovely lyrics. I disagree with you. I'm just not buying it. I think it's going to be Iraq 2.0 because we were already sold this lie last summer that we took out their nuclear capabilities and destroyed their centrifuges. Now all of a sudden it's they're enriching uranium or they're going to again and build nuclear warheads and they have ballistic missiles that can reach Europe. None of it makes sense to me. They will be eternally grateful and we are deeply involved already. We are deeply involved now, yeah. That tends to be what happens when you send 50% of your naval fleet over to the Persian Gulf and let it sit there waiting to be attacked by Iran after you decide to strike them first. Trying to see anything else new coming in here. Hodge Twins just reposted. The Hodge Twins are reposting everyone right now. I actually kind of like it because it's, they're reposting Charlie Kirk. Now they just reposted Nicholas Fuentes. And he says, Trump is the Iran war candidate. He said this in October 10th of 2024. That's quite a prediction right there. My God. He said that in October 10th, 2024. That's quite a prediction. I wasn't even thinking about Iran when I was thinking about Trump back in October of 2024. Wow. Interesting. I don't know when Nick Fuentes ever goes live. So I tried to watch one of his live streams once and it was like 2 hours of music. And so I've only ever seen clips of him and he's like inflammatory on purpose. And I totally get it. He's just an edgelord really. But a few times I've watched and listened to him and I'm like, hey, he says smart stuff. He has a lot of smart stuff to say, honestly. So this is interesting. The fact that he said that October 10th, 2024, that's pretty mind-boggling. Oh, yeah, the tweet right underneath it says it, too. Andy Fromel says, Nick Fuentes called Trump the Iran war candidate in October 24. People called him a Fed and a Democrat plant, and they still do. Israel and the United States just bombed their capital, Tehran. Put some respect on his name. Interesting. Yeah, America First Post is quoting President Trump. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. Oh man, this is terrible. The end of times isn't a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing that each of us face in our own lifetimes. We either pick a good path or we don't, says Robin Brown. Yeah, I disagree with that. We have to because we are allies with Israel, and I agree. Let's not get involved in other wars, says Asian American. Well, we didn't have to do this one, Asian American. The U.S. struck first last night, or early this morning, I should say. We struck first, then Israel struck, then Israel got struck, then our Navy base got struck. That's the order of events here. So we didn't have to do this. It's not like Israel got attacked and we're defending them now. It's not like we got attacked and we're defending ourselves. That's happened, but it was actually a retaliatory strike in both cases. So this was very unnecessary and in complete violation of Trump's campaign promise, and I would dare say his mandate. He won the popular mandate, and he loves to flex that when it comes to imposing his will and some of the things we do like, right? Like mass deportations and tariffs and whatever else. So he loves to flex that. But, the popular mandate wasn't even just always... It's about everything. And when I look at all of his campaign promises, no new wars was one of them. And this, sure... The guy that was in this chat a while ago who got pissy and left said, you're just speculating. Well, forgive me for looking at missile strikes happening in the Middle East and one of our Navy bases being struck and concluding that there's a very high likelihood we start a war in the Middle East again. What else am I supposed to believe here? It's a miracle that he got all the hostages. Asian American says, I will say if Trump says he will do something, it happens. Yeah, well, he said no new wars, and that's getting the opposite of that now. As far as him campaigning on a lot of stuff and implementing it, he at least has implemented stuff. Trump's biggest problem also is there's no follow-through. He has great tactics, but poor strategy. UNGOC says, except getting Greenland, apparently. Yeah. Well, exactly, yeah. Compromise. This is actually Trump's problem and why I gripe about Trump. He's the Mr. Art of the Deal businessman, right? So everything that Trump negotiation or potential negotiation, and sometimes the raw truth behind what power actually is power basically is not up for negotiation. Power is not to be negotiated, but to be wielded. And Greenland was a perfect example of that. Like, for our national security, Greenland was important. We needed it for our Golden Dome project. We wanted it to control the opening up trade routes via the ocean up there, the Arctic Sea, as it melts more up in that region. And we also openly and brazenly want it for rare earth mineral purposes. So owning Greenland made the most sense, owning it outright. But Trump decided instead to back down and negotiate for a slightly better deal with Denmark, which really only moved the needle a hair. Essentially, if you're not familiar with the 1953 Greenland deal or 51 Greenland deal, I don't remember the exact year, from the 50s. As a thank you for saving Greenland on Denmark's behalf and giving it back to them free of charge, they said, go ahead and build some military bases up there. Just call us first and ask permission. Now the deal is, well, you don't need to call us anymore. Just go ahead and build the bases. That's semi-sovereignty, really. Yep, I don't agree with it, says Asian American. Well, thanks. Appreciate that. I mean, it's going to be a senseless war. Lovely lyrics, sorry, says, let's see what happens. It won't solve everything, no. When he leaves office, we will have problems for a fact. Well, we're going to have even more problems now, too. Like, this is what I said early on in the stream. He campaigned on no new wars, mass deportations. He campaigned on tariffs. He campaigned on, cheaper bacon, cheaper chicken, cheaper beef, cheaper cost of living. He campaigned on all of this stuff. And really, what have we gotten? We're getting potentially a new war. Mass deportations are done in this country because midterms are upon us. And the strategy here doesn't make sense. When I saw what he did in Minnesota by pulling ICE out of Minnesota and essentially ending mass deportations for all illegal aliens and relegating it to only violent illegal alien criminals, the worst of the worst, they call it, which is essentially a cop-out to dodge around the fact that he doesn't want to actually deport every illegal alien in this country. When I saw that, I thought, well, it's a midterm election strategy. The pressure is being applied to him from congressmen and congresswomen, the House Republicans, who are afraid of losing more seats, and they're afraid of the imagery of people like Renee Good and Alex Preddy being shot and killed in the streets because they tried to stand up to ICE, right? So I thought, well, it's a stupid strategy. It's not going to work. He should just go all in on mass deportations and actually focus on doing such a good job that it galvanizes and motivates Republicans to vote more in the midterms instead of less. So I thought it was a stupid strategy, but it made sense from the lens of, well, it's midterms. This war or conflict doesn't make sense. The Americans in general are radically against this, and midterms are upon us. So how do you justify this one other than just Israel appeasement? The fact that the U.S. can build as many bases as USA wishes and making mineral deals due to a 1951 agreement is amazing, but not enough. Yeah, I agree. I agree just because you don't know where the world's going to go, UNGOC. Right? Like, war is unpredictable. You look at the history of Denmark during both the world wars, and it's not a favorable one. They folded very quickly. And there's a reason why we had to babysit Greenland for them. They don't have the military might to defend Greenland, but they still want the sovereignty over it. And then they masquerade under the light of, well, it's really the Greenlanders' decision. All the while, they create anti-American propaganda to air on every Greenlander's television to make them fearful of the idea of America owning Greenland. And so it's all duplicitous, and the historical precedent set by Denmark is not a good one to begin with. I don't have faith in Denmark as a country as a whole. I don't have faith in their military, which I think is justified. And that's why, to me, as an American, of course, a biased American, granted I'm biased, yes, but it made sense to own Greenland. And Trump was doing it the benevolent route. NATO was acting as if Trump was trying to be a tyrant and invade Greenland with a military force, but Trump just offered to buy it for $750 billion. And then he promised each individual citizen of Greenland $500,000 each. So I view that through a lens of benevolency. Like, we decided we really need this from a geostrategical perspective, and we're going to buy it for $750 billion. It's not like Denmark couldn't benefit from that. So it is what it is. Something had to happen. I don't want war either, says Lovely Lyrics. Yeah, well, nobody wants war. Nobody wants war. That's the thing. It's not going to be popular. This is going to harm Republicans in the midterms for sure. Hodge twins are now saying no deep state arrests, but we got a new war for Israel. Yeah. Yep. Ursula von der Leyen. Let's see what she has to say. She says the developments in Iran are greatly concerning. We remain in close contact with our partners in the region. We reaffirm our steadfast commitment to safeguarding regional security and stability. Amen. Amen. Where is my American president to say something like that? We're being told about Iran being such a threat to us. Why are we not making this kind of a statement? Again, why is it not Israel and NATO leading the charge in Iran and America saying something like, the developments in Iran are greatly concerning and we remain in close contact with our partners in the region? You know, the ones that are actually being at risk of Iran, at risk of being threatened by Iran, at risk of their ballistic missile strikes. How come this narrative's not flipped right now? How come it's not America saying this? We remain in close contact. Imagine if Trump said this and NATO and Israel was leading the charge with these strikes in Iran and America wasn't, and we didn't have 50% of our Navy sitting in the Persian Gulf. Imagine if Trump was saying, we remain in close contact with our partners in the region, though, and we reaffirm our steadfast commitment to safeguarding regional security, American security. If Iran tries to strike us, we'll defend ourselves, but we're not going to strike them first. Why wasn't that what happened? Why isn't Trump moving that way, in that direction? Ensuring nuclear safety and preventing any action that could further escalate tensions or undermine the global non-proliferation regime is of critical importance. The European Union has adopted extensive sanctions in response to the actions of Iran's murderous regime and the Revolutionary Guards and has consistently promoted diplomatic efforts aimed at addressing the nuclear and ballistic programs through a negotiated solution. I wish for once our president, Trump, would talk like that. I do. That's the perfect statement for the American president to be making. Instead, it's Ursula von der Leyen saying it. And nowhere does she mention in this statement anything about the NATO sending in soldiers and getting ready to aggressively strike Iran with their military. She talks about sanctions, regional security, and how deeply concerning it is what's happening in Iran. I wish I could say I expected more from NATO, but yeah, I didn't. I don't expect anything from Europe. That's just facts at this point. It's not that Denmark can't defend Greenland nor themselves. Denmark surrendered quickly because they didn't want to risk Danish lives for a war they couldn't win. Well, and what do you expect's going to happen in World War III then? And then who owns Greenland? The issue is that according to the Danish constitution, they can't sell Greenland because the land is lived on in agreement with the Britons. Denmark must sell Greenland to the Britons first. BRB, got to run to the kitchen. Thanks for the update. Lovely lyrics. I'll pause the entire show. I'll pause this whole live stream until you get back. Let me know when you're back, but I will not another word for me. We will all sit here in complete silence while you run to the kitchen. I'm just fucking with you, lovely lyrics. All right. No, Sean Hannity. Let's see what he has to say. See, he's the example here of neoconservatism, probably. Let's see. Yep. Oh, how did I know? He says, God bless the brave men and women of the U.S. military, the greatest military on the face of the earth. What makes President Trump so consequential and transformational is that he understands real evil in our time, and in this case, he has taken the principled stance that the number one state sponsor of terror cannot have nuclear weapons. The world will be a safer place as a result. God bless our brave troops. It just never works. I don't know what else to say at this point. I've exhausted all talking points about the Middle East at this point. It doesn't work. Fast forward 10 years from now, do you think the Middle East is going to be largely ignored and mostly peaceful? We're going to be coming up with more bullshit reasons in 10 years if we don't vote in the right kind of leaders here in America. They're going to be giving us more spoon-fed bullshit about weapons of mass destruction and ballistic missiles And, we got to stop this now. They're threatening our allies. It's not going to change. This is not going to be a safer place after this. It's going to be the same bullshit problems cyclically being repeated for years to come. It's endless wars. It's an endless war. It's an endless war strategy. The military industrial complex. Just like what Andrew Tate had to say. Well, war transfers wealth from the working class to the banking class. Andrew Tate. That's what he had to say on X about this. And it's true. Oh, man. Well, that's all performative. No, no, I don't want anyone to think I was ignoring anyone if I don't answer for a minute. Yeah, I got you, lovely. Don't worry about it. The difference between World War II and World War III is that Denmark is prepared for war and took defense more seriously after World War II, so I have big hopes for Denmark. I don't. I'll just be honest with you, man. I don't have high hopes for Denmark. I do appreciate you worshiping my presence. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm doing here. We're worshiping your presence. We're fawning over you in your absence, lovely lyrics. Iranian missiles just bombed all across U.S. bases. Yeah. Yeah, more breaking news. More Iranian missiles are being launched. I'm seeing footage of it right now. They're launching missiles at various different U.S. bases now in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, and Iraq. They're targeting all of our military bases in the region now. Some more breaking news. Saudi Arabia just put out their response to all this, and they've announced that they are prepared to join America in any capacity in the war against Iran. That's actually more of a firm statement than what Ursula von der Leyen just gave on behalf of the European allies. Yeah, a MAGA cheerleader channel. Yep. Iran targeting U.S. bases in Bahrain and Qatar. Time to send the full firepower of the. This is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm saying. Time to send the full firepower of the United States military. And this is a sentiment that some Americans will have, certainly our boomer politicians will have, and it's in general our practice. If our military is attacked, we attack back 10 times harder. And that's why I think, and I'm speculating, war, Middle East war, because we've been struck. Iran has struck some of our military bases. Zach, I'm trying to see what you're saying, but you keep retracting your messages. UNGOC says, I mean, Denmark is among the richest countries in the world and can afford better defenses. During the 20s and 30s, Denmark was very poor and could barely afford any equipment whatsoever. We'll see. Denmark's also just, it's small. That's kind of the problem with Denmark. They're capped. They're capped by a lot of different factors. Damn, that Sweden comment was deleted quickly. Well, he retract. It's Zach. Is it Zach saying that? Is that you're talking about Zach's comment? He was retracting his messages for some reason. I didn't even see him. Oh man, Vice President J.D. Vance last night apparently said that conservatives must avoid overlearning. I went on this rant earlier. Why I won't vote for J.D. Vance most likely now. Why I'm done voting for conservatives unless it's a James Fishback type candidate. James Fishback running for governor of Florida currently. Look him up if you're not familiar. This is an example why. According to this post, J.D. Vance is saying that when it comes to Iran, we must avoid, Americans and conservatives must avoid overlearning. Overlearning. Don't be too informed when it comes to the lessons of Iraq and other failed Middle East interventions. Gee, thanks for that wisdom, J.D. Vance. Ignore what's happened in the past historically. That's how you for sure obtain future success. Just disregard all of the historic past. Ignore it. Don't let it weigh down your decisions of the future. He said, I quote, J.D. Vance in a quote said, I do think we have to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past, but I also think that we have to avoid overlearning the lessons of the past. Just because one president screwed up a military conflict doesn't mean we can never engage in military conflict again. It's not just one president, though, when it comes to the Middle East. It's been multiple. In fact, it's been a disaster for Biden, for Trump's first term in some regard, much less so in all honesty. But it was a disaster for Biden when he pulled out. Obama handled it like a disaster. Bush handled it horribly. And then even before 2001, we were meddling in there with Operation Desert Storm and others, which was quick and efficient, granted, but none of it was fruitful at all. All of it is a combined failure. So it's not even just one president. There's no good track record here in the Middle East from any president. Not even Trump, because Trump told us last year that Operation Midnight Hammer was a success. And he said, we bombed 3 locations, annihilated their centrifuges. They can no longer develop nuclear warheads. They're out of commission for at least 3 years. And he thought that was a low estimate. So not even Trump has a proven track record. Now it hasn't even been a year and we're attacking them. Denmark is small, but if we have Finland to go by, I doubt we have to worry about population. Well, and again, it's that region as a whole and the fact that they've combined that's really given you guys the best chance. Rex is saying Charlie Kirk would have stood against this whole thing. They'll steal his legacy and push it forward. Charlie Kirk did stand against this last year before he died. Oh, wow. Myron Gaines just retweeted this from Donald J. Trump on X, at Real Donald Trump from November 10th, 2013. Trump saying, remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly, not skilled. And Myron Gaines retweeted that and said, where is this guy? Wow. Wow, yeah. A tweet from Stephen Miller has been pulled up from November 1st, 2024. He said, he said at the time, to anyone still gullible enough to fall for scummy media hoaxes, Trump said, warmongering neocons love sending your kids to die for wars they would never fight themselves. Liz Cheney is Kamala's top advisor. Liz wants to invade the whole Middle East. Kamala equals World War III. Trump equals peace. That's Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff currently for the Trump administration, posting that November 1st, 2024. It's been retweeted by the Hodge twins. Oh, it's not looking good. Let's be honest. Seeing Russia and Ukraine, I'm sure Denmark can almost run trains on Putin alone. Yeah, Russia's military is a paper tiger. That's for sure. Russia's a boogeyman. I've been saying that for a long time on this channel. They're just a boogeyman. They've been, in my opinion, they've been almost unfairly demonized in some regard because I don't think they're as threatening as they're made out to be. And in all honesty, I'm not even a big Ukraine fan on this channel because I'm an American and I see all my taxpayer dollars going to fund Ukraine, which is a country that's done absolutely nothing to benefit America. And Russia's really proving that, honestly, that their military is inexperienced, maybe not the right word. I think the real thing is the one way America keeps our military sharp and effective is just by being engaged in forever wars like this one that's about to happen now, as opposed to these other countries which actually pretty much avoid wars for the most part. So their soldiers just aren't as effective, I think. They're not as sharpened and ready for combat. Yeah, this is an interesting point by this user, MajTour999. War with Iran, unauthorized by Congress. Trump has tossed his entire legacy in the trash. Of course, it's built into our Congress for Trump to be able to approve strikes like this because it's not defined as going to war. These are just precision strikes on Tehran and Iran as a whole. And so Trump can, I think he's within his right to do this congressionally for 30 days before Congress can pull him back and force him to stop. So it's not a gotcha moment for Trump, but it's an interesting point. And it is a loophole. The Board of Peace sure does like war. It is fascinating too. The Trump just assembled that Board of Peace, and now there's a war. That is just tragically ironic. All right. That's going to wrap it up for me on this stream, though, guys. I appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe to American Advocates if you haven't already. Like the stream right now if you haven't already. Make sure post notifications are turned on so you're notified every single time I go live. If I haven't seen one of your chats down there that you wanted me to see, you can leave it as a comment. The stream will post as a video on my channel in a couple hours after it's processed. So you can go and comment on there if a chat that I may have missed, and if it's worth responding to, I'll respond. I'll reply to your comments. I subscribed and liked. Thanks, UNGOC. I don't know how much value you'll get out of my channel with me being an American and talking about, advocating for my country, America first, you being from Sweden and whatnot, but I appreciate the support for sure. Feel free to stop by any live stream and give your input. It's not like I'm against that at all. I'm actually kind of glad we were able to hash out our differences, UNGOC. So thank you for that. Appreciate you. War is peace, says Bryant Pross. Yeah, well, we'll see. Lovely lyrics. Same with you. I don't think we completely agree, lovely lyrics, but it was interesting to discuss this with you. Appreciate your presence. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't as well. I like all of you, says UNGOC. How very Swedish of you. You peacemaker, you. Me too, man. Glad we could understand each other better. Same. All right, guys. Glory to America. God bless the USA. God be with us right now during these tough times. God be with the world. God be with everybody who could possibly be getting involved with this country. God bless everyone. I pray the Lord's will be done in all of this. Glory to America. God bless the USA. God bless all of you. Have a great weekend, a good rest of your evening or morning, whatever time it is where you guys are at. And until next time, take care.